I've been playing a ton of Megabonk. When I first picked the game up, I expected to play it for about 10 hours and call it a day, because over the past couple of years, I've played plenty of bullet heaven games, and at this point they're starting to blend together for me. But Megabonk hit different. And no, I don't think it's just the memes. Those might explain why your favorite Twitch streamer won't stop playing the game because they're clip farming. But it doesn't explain why I've played 50 hours past when I planned to put the game down, because I don't exactly know what memes are. I'm not one of the kids you see. And now, I want to talk about it, because I'm not the only one who can't stop playing Megabonk. Recently, the game hit a peak of 117,000 concurrent players, which means it's one of the biggest indie successes this year, in a year filled with indie successes. And so today, I'm going to look at the ways in which the game's map, game structure, builds, and inspirations lead to something you just can't put down. Think of this as half review and half video essay. And so let's start by talking about the game's map and structure. When you first load in, you're presented with a simple task. Find the portal and kill the boss to clear the stage. For the first few minutes, things are easy. Not many enemies spawn, and this gives you a perfect opportunity to break pots for EXP and gold, while going around activating shrines. To activate a shrine, you need to stand in the circle until the bar fills, activating it, after which you get to pick one of 3 stat boosts. Shrines provide you with a lot of power, so you should do this whenever you can. Just be careful, because if you're too greedy, it's very easy to get killed while trying to charge a shrine, particularly in later portions of the run. That's why this lull at the start is so good for shrine farming. Now, around 7 minutes, the first boss spawns, and this is where things start getting more difficult, because you need to avoid the red circles representing the boss's attacks, dodge other enemies, and burn the boss down. Ideally, you want enough damage to do this in a minute or less, because at 6 minutes, the first swarm wave spawns. Swarm waves are large groups of enemies, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. Watch for spawns, look for an escape, avoid cliffs because enemies will drop on your head and kill you, and also use your jump to escape when needed. Once the swarm calms down, there's a lull, and from here there aren't any major events until 3 minutes, at which point there's another swarm. So this lull is the perfect time to continue your map exploration. And also a good time for me to talk about the interactables strewn around the map. First up, we have chests. Spend gold to open one of these for an item of random rarity. The more chests you open, the higher the cost, and so on higher difficulties, it can be worth grabbing a bit of luck before you start opening. Just keep in mind you need to be strong enough to kill enemies, and without items, that's going to be difficult, because items are very important to your build in Megabonk. In fact, they're kinda awesome. More about that in the build section though. As another note, some of the chests are golden in color. These are free to open, so you should go out of your way to interact with them while exploring. Next up, there's the Moai, who also offer you a free item. Like the golden chests, they are always worth going out of your way for. This is a pretty good place to use the rerolls granted from the shop in hopes of getting a higher rarity item, as epic and legendary items are often game-breaking in Megabonk. Continuing on with the item acquisition theme, there is the Shady Guy shop, who lets you purchase an item. This could be anything from a random assortment of common items all the way up to 3 legendaries. The cost depends on the item's rarity and how far you are into the run. P.S. To find shops with guaranteed legendary items, look for guys with yellow hats. And so that about covers items, which is a pretty big part of the game. But not everything gives you items directly. There are quite a few other ways to get power. So let's go through those rapid fire style. First up, challenge shrines. Interact with it to summon a bunch of tough enemies. Kill them to get the item. Shrine of a Suck pulls in all your EXP crystals. This means you can spend more time running around killing enemies, not having to backtrack for EXP, and use the Suck to grab all that sweet EXP before a boss or swarm wave spawns. Interact with a microwave and select an item. This takes one random item of the same rarity from your inventory and gives you the item you want. Do this repeatedly and profit. The Boss Curse adds an additional boss. This affects all bosses that spawn in that stage, not just the next one. Of course, like the Shrine of a Mountain in Risk of Rain 2, you always do this, even when it gets you killed. Totally worth just say it in party chat. Speaking of, there's the Greed Shrine. This increases difficulty, which means more enemies and stronger enemies, giving you an opportunity for more loot. I know it sounds like a bad thing, but it is in fact a good thing. At least provided that your build is strong enough to cleave through those enemies. Last but not least, look for the boss portal. This should be one of your goals while exploring. It's marked by the angry red wind in the sky. Interact with this to spawn the stage boss, then kill that boss to move on to the next stage. Or, if you are on difficulty 1, there is no next stage, so you just get to die. Congratulations. In short, there's always something to do because Megabonk is non-stop action. In addition, you have a lot of ways to get around. Many of the characters have increased mobility. Tony McZoom, for example, well, he's about going fast, and Calcium is a skeleton on a skateboard. It's exactly as fun as you would imagine. Plus, plenty of items give you increased movement speed. Shrines can give you increased movement speed. Shrines can give you extra jumps. Oh, and some items make your jumps better as well. So before you know it, you are flying, or at the very least, falling with style through the levels, which give you plenty of opportunities to get yourself out of trouble, or into trouble, because yeah, you can jump into the wrong cluster of enemies and get yourself killed pretty darn quickly. I don't know about you, but for me, the faster and jumpier my character is, the stronger I feel regardless of objective power. But while I was talking about all of that, some of you might have been shouting at your screens, or writing down in the comments, hey, this sounds a lot like Risk of Rain 2. And it does. Megabonk draws a huge amount of inspiration from Risk of Rain 2 with how it lays out each stage. In both games, you need to pay attention to the vertical space as you explore. Very often, there's good loot that you will totally miss if you don't look up, and who knows, the boss portal could spawn above you. Many of the interactables are similar as well. Risk of Rain 2 involves opening chests to get a majority of your items. 3D printers are similar to the microwave, exchanging a random item for something you want. And the Pick 3 works similarly to the Shady Guy shop. Boss Curse is Shrine of a Mountain, again, always pick it. And Challenge Shrine functions, well, like the Challenge Shrine. It spawns enemies and you can kill them, which gives you more money that you can use to spend on opening chests or collecting drones. Sadly, Megabonk has no drones, at least as of yet. And then of course, to complete the stage, you need to not only reach the teleporter and kill the boss, but spend time in the circle charging it. This is where time comes in, because both games handle time a little bit differently. See, Risk of Rain 2 constantly applies pressure via ever-increasing difficulty. The longer you take, the more dangerous enemies get. Standing still is death, and you've got to go fast. This is why it can be so stressful to charge up that teleporter even after the boss is defeated, because you know that time in the top right is still ticking up. There's, however, another really popular indie game that uses time pretty similarly to Megabonk. See, in Megabonk, the timer counts down from 10 minutes, and your goal is to get as much EXP as possible before moving on to the next stage. And in Vampire Survivors, the timer counts up to 30 minutes, and your goal is to get as much EXP as possible in that time period. Megabonk also borrows the idea of fixed spawns based on a timer. Bosses appear at fixed intervals in Vampire Survivors, and hordes of enemies appear, allowing you to mow them down with your powerful weapons, collecting, of course, many EXP gems and power-ups. Because yes, in Vampire Survivors you can use power-ups to stop time, give yourself super fireballs, or collect all the loot that's been sitting on the floor. And when it comes to power-ups, Megabonk is picking up what Vampire Survivors is putting down. Whether it's the Berserk, to attack super quickly and annihilate everything, the Nuke, to literally blow your enemies to smithereens, or the Time Stop, which essentially turns the game into shooting fish in a barrel. Power-ups are a game changer. You get tons of resources, you can wipe out dangerous enemies, making them the perfect thing to get you out of a hopeless situation. Or, you can kill a bunch of enemies, generate a bunch of power-ups, and then use them all to unload on a boss. So next up, I want to talk a little bit about builds, because your build in Megabonk begins with a character you select. Each character has a signature weapon. As an example, the Mega Chad's signature weapon is Aura. He's just such a Mega Chad that his aura literally kills people. Each character also has different stats and a special bonus skill. Sometimes it's a unique ability, like Mega Chad's Flex, other times it's a stat bonus. And this is very similar to the character select in Vampire Survivors, where each character has a signature weapon, different stats, and a special skill. But within each run, your build evolves considerably because you pick up 3 more weapons and 4 tomes. As you collect weapons, you're also offered different upgrades for them. This could increase the base damage, or add DPS indirectly, say additional projectiles, where now you can hit the enemy multiple times. When your build starts with your characters, weapons play a big part. Not just in how you build, but also how you play. If I'm on a Dexecutioner build, for example, I want to stick pretty close to enemies. But if I'm using a Bananarang and Sniper, I can just sit back and blast them. Now, tomes further enhance your build by providing global stats. In the current meta, EXP, luck, and difficulty tomes are particularly powerful, because they allow you to push your build to the extremes. But honestly, tomes like attack speed, projectiles, and crit are also very fun and have their place. I suspect long-term, the end result's going to be that the OP tomes will get nerfed, the underpowered tomes will get buffed, things might shift around, and at the end of a day, weapons will be used to bolster your builds, and you'll look for things that synergize with your main weapons. And so when it comes to builds, everything I've described so far is pretty similar to Vampire Survivors. In Vampire Survivors, your build starts with your character, which is then enhanced by the weapons and passive buffs you pick up. Each weapon has a different firing pattern. Over time, they're upgraded with better damage, more projectile, bigger AoEs, and each passive gives you stats. Higher upgrades, more of those stats. But Vampire Survivors has one thing that I think would solve a problem in Megabonk. That is evolutions. If you have the correct weapon and passive pairing, you gain access to a powerful new evolution weapon after you max out the weapon's level. This does somewhat limit build variety. If you want Labora, you need both Santa Water and Attract Orb, but it also acts as a balancing mechanism. Remember those overpowered EXP, luck, and difficulty tomes? They might be less dominant in the meta if you could make some awesome evolution items with the other tomes, and if you go for the EXP tome, you're stuck with the Space Noodle. On the other hand, builds in Risk of Rain 2 are quite different. Yes, they still start with your character, and your character defines your base moveset. The Huntress, for example, can fire while moving, has a ricochet shot, a dash, and her ultimate is Rain of Arrows. But as you explore, you collect items, and this leads to absolutely overpowered builds where you are rocketing around the stage, firing off swarms of literal rockets, setting everything on fire, and then exploding those burning enemies for even more damage. Because items in Risk of Rain 2 stack, gaining multiple copies further amplifies the effect. One backup mag is good on Huntress, but two is better. And so, fairly early on in the game, you feel downright overpowered, and the enemies are just as overpowered as you are. Enemies, and especially bosses, in Risk of Rain 2 are extremely lethal. I've had plenty of runs where I'm blowing everything up, and then I get blown up out of the blue, and, well, that's the run. And you know what? In this regard, Megabonk absolutely takes a page from Risk of Rain 2's playbook. Items, in particular legendary items, are very powerful. The Chonk Blade turns you into a tank, providing you with consistent overshield. Several items let you summon swarms of projectiles that strike your enemies and can melt bosses. And there are plenty of both legendaries and non-legendaries that cause explosions. Plus, like in Risk of Rain 2, items stack, and you know what's better than one insanely OP legendary item? Two insanely OP legendary items, which is why in many of my Megabonk runs, first of all, I have fun regardless of whether I win or lose, provided I get some cool items. And second of all, very often, my items contribute more damage than my weapons to my ultimate build. So at this point, you probably have a good idea of why Megabonk's taken off. It smartly combines a lot of the most successful mechanics from two of the best roguelike games out there. And it doesn't just copy them, it puts its own twist on things. A great example of this is the final boss for Megabonk's Forest Zone on Tier 3 difficulty, Dark Vader. He takes some inspiration from Mithrax, the final boss in Risk of Rain 2, which is to say he steals all of your weapons at the start of a fight. To get them back, you need to take him down to 75, 50, and 25% health. Then charge a pylon while avoiding all of the attacks so that you can make the boss vulnerable, get your weapon back, and continue the fight. Which turns the entire battle into a power fantasy. You start weak and rapidly get stronger as each of your weapons is restored. It also means the order in which you take your weapons throughout the run, rather than just the weapons you take, matters, and you need enough mobility or defenses to charge the pylon while avoiding boss attacks. Now the second reason why Megabonk took off is... Okay, be honest, even though you know you're watching a YouTube video, you probably got a little excited at the potential for getting a great item for just a moment there. Just like how, if I played this, some of you instinctually began looking around for a Divine Orb even though you're not even logged into Path of Exile. And if you are in Path of Exile, yeah, sorry about that. Megabonk uses a lot of the same tricks that ARPGs do to make loot more exciting, so that you feel that rush of dopamine with every drop. You could say this is the good version of what a slot machine does. It makes every moment exciting so that you keep playing the game and having a good time, rather than so that the slot machine can extract your entire wallet. But Megabonk has one more ace up its sleeve. So, last but not least, the meta progression is pretty easy to get through. It's not that hard to unlock most of the weapons, tomes, and items. but they also don't inherently make you more powerful. You have to find them within the run. You have to build synergies. This means the main way you get better at the game is by learning more about the game. You don't grind stats, you improve and learn how to make a better build. In addition, you can customize your build quite a bit with the toggler. This is unlocked in the shop and allows you to enable or disable items. There's always a base pool, but you can turn off a lot of stuff. And last but not least, they're leaderboards. Even if you crushed Darth Vader, unlocked every character 12 times, even ground out all those skins, you still have a goal to chase as you continue through the final swarm for longer and longer, pushing your score up in a quest for world domination or at the very least to beat your friends. And so those are my thoughts on Megabonk and why you probably can't stop playing it. Now, if you're new to Megabonk, check out my tips and tricks video. It'll help get you started winning your first runs. On the other hand, if you want to know my thoughts about more games, you can head over to my Steam curator page. Link is down in the description. Check out all of my reviews. Before I go, one last question. If you've played Megabonk, what are some of your favorite builds and why do you keep coming back? Let me know down in the comments below. But that's going to be it for me today. So thank you very much for watching to the end. Good luck in your bonking, and I'll see you in the next one.